From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm Daryl Clark. Sarah Dubowski has the evening off. Our top story today, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of John Sturgeon, a hunter who uses a hovercraft to track moose in shallow water along the National River in Alaska. Now, the court unanimously threw out a lower court ruling that upheld enforcement of National Park Service rules banning the use of hovercraft on the river when it runs through the Yukon-Charlie Rivers National Preserve. The 8-0 decision is a victory for Sturgeon, who has hunted moose in Alaska for nearly 40 years. However, he will have to continue his fight in the lower courts. Alaska's congressional delegation applauded today's decision, calling it a win for Alaska's sovereign rights under the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act of 1980. Senator Lisa Murkowski called Sturgeon a, quote, hero. Chief Justice John Roberts, who wrote the opinion, found that the Ninth Circuit's decision did not take into account that Anilka envisioned that public lands in Alaska would not be managed like other public lands across the country. Alaska Governor Bill Walker says the ruling is not only a victory for Sturgeon, but sets precedents for future land management decisions under Anilka.
Alaska is unique. Alaska is special. Alaska you can't take a broad brush of all the states on a particular ruling and include Alaska in it.
And I think the court said, look, you didn't get Alaska's interest right on this, and you've actually overly broadly looked at that law. So I'm very glad that the decision's come. I think this is going to be a precedent for us in many years to come, both on the navigable waters, but on the division of how we look at Anilka once again.
Congratulate Mr. Sturgeon taking on the federal government and getting some semblance of justice. It's an amazing day. It's an amazing day for all of us. His perseverance, I think, is something that we can all admire for sure.
The North Pole City Council met with a light agenda Monday night. The council passed via consent an ordinance that allows candidates to begin filing to run for city office beginning July 15th as opposed to August 15th. The goal is to give voters more time to access and learn about the candidates. The council also passed a resolution in support of Senate Bill 8, an act relating to the regulation and production of industrial hemp. The city of Fairbanks passed a similar resolution, and the Borough Assembly is expected to do the same. The resolution passed 6-1, with Councilwoman Elizabeth Holm voting no. Councilmen Santa Claus and Thomas McGee asked and were granted co-sponsorship on the resolution. McGee says the state could benefit from joining the emerging hemp product industry.
The products that are coming into our state are legally coming in from other states that have already approved them, and it would be nice that products from clothing to rope to even the cannabinoid extraction to benefit people with medical issues is a fine thing, and I think we're just finally catching up.
The Fairbanks City Council briefly revisited an issue it had postponed earlier this year. The council met Monday night to hear a resolution on renaming Fire Station 1 in honor of former city fire chief Warren B. Cummings. The resolution was introduced by Mayor John Eberhardt. It was postponed during a meeting in January due to an ongoing workers' compensation claim filed by Cummings. Now, the resolution was again delayed last night as City Attorney Paul Ewers says the workers' comp claim remains unresolved. Councilman David Pruse moved to postpone hearing the resolution, but the body voted instead to table it.
I think it's time, rather than keep postponing it, we just table it, and then if you want to address this at a later date, we address it at a later date. But this is a very awkward way of doing this. So I guess I would speak against postponement and just speak in favor of tabling.
Tabling it sends it into oblivion. I think we all know that. Postponing it brings it up again. I think we're all concurred that we're ready to rename it if there's no issues.
When we come back, the Fairbanks Assembly is getting ready to vote on a proposed school district budget changes. Also in this week's health report, the number of flu-like symptoms is higher than normal. We'll investigate why this is occurring. Stay with us. And welcome back. The Fairbanks Board of Education held a work session last night reviewing the finalities of the district's proposed budget. Attending board members were in favor of Superintendent Karen Gaborik's recommended changes to the school district budget. The board is set to vote on the recommended budget tomorrow during a special meeting which begins at 6 p.m. in the District Administrative Center. Before the board makes its decision, a public hearing will take place. As it stands, district officials anticipate a range of 3% to 10% in cuts to school funding by the Fairbanks North Star Borough and the Alaska Legislature. School Board President Heidi House says she hopes the school district will come to an agreement with the Borough Assembly for continued funding.
If we reach the 10% level, that's approximately close to $17 million in reductions that our district would be facing. So at that point, the board would obviously have some significant adjustments to make. I speak for the board. I believe we all hope that we can eventually come together and have a really fair understanding of the needs of the district. The board has continued to maintain class size. However, you get to a point where you start cutting too much with the other programs and you lose entire programs.
The 2016 Fairbanks Career Expo and Job Fair took place at the Pioneer Park Civic Center today. The State of Alaska Department of Labor and Workforce Development invited several businesses to give potential employees more information about possible jobs in the workforce. The Spring Job Fair is a great time and venue for the community to know more about businesses in person as job seekers are looking to be hired. Employees were seen discussing their resumes and talking to potential employers. There were even opportunities for employees to receive on-site interviews, including at the Alaska Department of Transportation.
I think a lot of people aren't aware of how many job opportunities we have in Alaska, especially in the spring. In the summer, it's, you know, jobs are everywhere, but a lot of people don't have as many opportunities in the winter. So I think it's really awesome to be able to have everyone come here and have the opportunity to just say, hi, we're hiring, we have all these jobs, come apply.
The flu is still popping up in Fairbanks and will apparently continue to do so over the next month. We have more now in this week's health report.
Flu season usually peaks around February or early March, but it's still spreading in parts of the lower 48 and Alaska. Experts at the State Virology Laboratory say it still hasn't peaked and could peak in late March and even possibly linger through April. Unlike last year, this year's flu vaccine is a good match for the current flu viruses, nearly 59% effective. Donna Fury, a nurse epidemiologist, says there's still time to get vaccinated and advises anyone over 6 months of age to do so.
And influenza activity has been increasing in Alaska over the last 3 to 4 weeks, as well as nationally. And we're in the thick of our flu season, and I think we could, though there's no way to predict influenza activity, we can anticipate that we have a number of weeks remaining of flu season. We do know that it's important if folks haven't been vaccinated to go get vaccinated, because in Alaska we can have influenza activity year round.
Other than getting vaccinated, Fury says it's important to remember the basics like hand washing and to stay home for a day even after you feel better from the flu.
On that, we always tell folks to cover their coughs, wash your hands frequently, and if individuals are ill, we really would like them to stay home for at least 24 hours after their fever has resolved, to prevent transmission.
This is Sarah Dabowski reporting.
The Health Report is brought to you by the Ear, Nose, and Throat Clinic, located in the Medical Dental Arts Building, and by Interior Women's Health, located on 1626 30th Avenue.
I've got a touch of the flu. Sarah's been out all week with the flu as well, so it is going around. All right, Joe Cook is up next, and he has news about a local hockey player who gets his first shot at the pros. Also, one of the biggest tournaments welcomed basketball stars into the interior. All that and more with Joe after the break.
Hello Interior Alaska, Joe Cook here with your local Tuesday Sportscast. A hometown kid will continue his hockey career in his home state. Today, the Alaska Aces of the ECHL signed Alek Hadukovic. The Duke will join the Aces for the last 8 games of their regular season. The Aces are not in playoff contention, but 6 of those last 8 games are home games at the Sullivan Arena. The Aces won the Kelly Cup in 2014. The senior forward finishes his Nanook career with 34 points in 109 games. The Lathrop High School product and former Ice Dog improved each season and had a signature senior campaign with career-high 15 points and 3 game-winning goals, which led UAF. He was also a 3-time pick to the WCHA All-Academic Team and won the Bart LeBon Humanitarian Award in 2013. On Saturday, one of the most anticipated basketball tournaments took place at the Patty Center, and it was star-studded. WNBA Atlanta Dream guard Shoni Schimmel and sister Jude came to the UIC North American Basketball Tournament. Both starred at Louisville, and they're from the Umatilla Reservation in Oregon. It was their first time in Fairbanks, and they soaked up the NABT atmosphere. The Schimmels had autograph sessions and spoke to the audience as well. Shoni, the WNBA All-Star Game MVP from last year, even showed off the shooting skills and shootouts against the tournament's top shooters. The Schimmels showed and received love from the local Alaska Native community.
It's awesome to see people playing basketball, Native American, especially in the community, Native American community. It's pretty awesome, and just being able to see people enjoy it, and it's cool to sit there and watch instead of actually playing all the time and, people watching you. So it's awesome to come out here and just spend some time, hanging out and watching basketball.
It's kind of a rare thing to be such a huge role model to so many people, and it's beyond important for us to be able to travel and do this kind of stuff, and hopefully inspire other people to go out there and be successful as well.
And as far as the games went, AJ's team, they completed a comeback in the final minutes to win the Masters class title in a close one. The Nunavut Lady Ballers from Anatuvit Pass won the women's title game in a tight one. In the men's final, you had B Royal go up against the campus Nates. Lots of familiar names in this one. Former UAF star Clay Edwin and former West Valley Wolfpack Taj Washington led B Royal. The Nates, they had former UAF guards Dominique and Aquino Brinson. The brothers combined for 25 points. Joe Stepovich of Monroe fame was also in the action for the Nates. It was a game of runs, but the Nates made the final run, and a 59-50 win is their second title in 3 years at the NABT.
I like this tournament. It's my favorite tournament to play in up here. Just kind of brings a lot of fans from communities around. I like to play basketball, so it's nice to have people cheering, and it's nice playing the Patty floor again. It's nice. I mean, I came out here to win a championship, so I'm glad that all these guys got to come up here and play and win a game, so it was nice.
And we wrap things up the last Nanac Corner of the 2015-2016 season. Tonight we highlight an alum who's putting his name and UAF on the map in the hockey world. Former goalie is trying to make the game safer for netminders. Here's more. With the advancement of technology in hockey, one former Nanac volunteer assistant coach and netminder is looking out for his own. Wiley Rogers saw a need for goalies.
Goalies needed to move around the goal mouth differently. We had to start using the post to push to get across. To make these saves at high speeds, I created a need to secure these nets in practice so that when they go into a game, they can use it.
Rogers collabed with Dr. Ping Lam in the UAF's MBA program at Alaska Pacific University to help bring his idea into a market-ready product. The Wiley Post launched in November of 2015.
It certainly takes a lot of work, and I always joke, I don't know if I would do it again. I don't know if I would invent a product again, but I would certainly help someone else do it because I've been through the process and I know the pain and agony and sleepless nights of what it may take to launch something.
This creation is a new type of peg to anchor nets. It fits universally in ice sheets, and unlike the traditional rubber pegs, this new peg breaks away on impact for safety.
The invention of the Wiley Post really modernizes the peg that we currently use, the inefficient peg, to secure these nets as if those rubber pegs are being drilled into the ice. So now you can have the same security with the same safety with no drilling or no anything, just an easy install of the Wiley Post.
Like a viral Facebook post, the Wiley Post is popping up everywhere. Right now, the Wiley Post is being used by the Ice Dogs, Nanooks, a number of Division I college programs, and 4 NHL teams, including former Nanac Chad Johnson for the Buffalo Sabres.
The response was overwhelming. It was instantly like, wow, this is exactly what we need to have. We'll change our practices, and getting goalies like Jonathan Quick to buy in, Chad Johnson to buy in, it's really motivating for me.
The Wiley Post was used in this past state hockey tournament in Wasilla as well. Rogers and his team believes they could be creating the next wave of standard hockey equipment for goalies and teams.
I really like to meet people, and I think that's only kind of part of the new adventure, a new chapter of my life is being known as, someone that's trying to help create a positive change and a safer game for everyone to play.
Nanac Corner, brought to you by Sports Medicine Fairbanks.
And that's a wrap for sports tonight. Thanks for watching. Mike Schultz is next with your 4-weather forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back in. Mike Schultz with you once again. Take a look at the weather for a Tuesday night. Today was just beautiful. Warm temperatures, snow is melting all over the place, and it's going to continue. In fact, we're looking at temperatures to be in the low to mid 40s by Friday into Saturday, maybe even to Sunday, so the weekend is looking really good, getting rid of a lot of snow at the same time. Hey, the map today is looking pretty interesting too on the satellite and radar. You can see all of the energy once again way down to the south, a huge storm sitting way down the south over the Gulf of Alaska, but nothing going on in the interior. That's why we're so sunny and looking at that to continue, because the flow is coming right out of the south, which means it's blocked out by the Alaska Range, but the warm temperatures still make their way up into the interior. Speaking of temperatures and conditions across the state today, it was raining around the Ketchikan area, 48 degrees there, 48 also for the high in the Juneau area. Not a bad day in Anchorage, almost 50 degrees there, just partly cloudy skies. Still some rain falling around the Kodiak region, 41 degrees there. Cloudy skies along the Aleutian Chain, 38 at Cold Bay. Up and down the west coast, look at Bethel, 39 degrees. A little bit cooler at Nome, 26. Barrow even getting into the plus figures, 2 degrees above. And for Yukon, lots of sunshine and 21. Lower 48 weather, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Numbers look like this, and you can see the high today as looking at 40 degrees for the high. Once again, 39 currently. The overnight low last night, 18 degrees. The record high, 52 in 1915. 30 below at 1995. Sunrise and sunset, 12 hours and 34 minutes. A gain of 7 minutes from yesterday. And speaking of the lower 48, here's what it looks like. And you can see again over the eastern half of the country, things looking pretty good. But then there are more storm clouds gathering, and this could be a big winter storm for much of the Central Plains as this thing gets its act together and starts really pulling in all the different ingredients. And here's what's expected to happen. A blizzard is expected to develop on, from Nebraska right on back into Wyoming and parts of Colorado, with mixed precipitation out ahead of that system. And it's all because, once again, the jet stream is mainly zonal from the west to the east, helping to drive all that moisture off the Pacific Ocean and then helping that area of low pressure to develop, bringing it down from Canada. So it looks like some wild weather expected there. Time once again for our kids' weather. And this week we're visiting with the kids from Northern Lights Academy. Tonight, here's a young man with a very nice picture he's drawn.
This is a picture that I painted of a forest of spruce trees and the shadows on the snow. I did this in art class for shadows.
And how'd you do it?
I did it with, we used paint and put some paint on the end of a credit card and just swiped it, just brushed it kind of.
You got to admit that's pretty creative. Again, a good job. And thanks as always to Mount McKinley Bank for sponsoring our kids' weather. Tomorrow night, another young man will be here with a question regarding the speed of tornadoes. You'll find that pretty interesting. Here's what's going on as far as our forecast for tomorrow for the northern sections. Partly cloudy skies at Barrow, some snow showers for Nome, and just mostly cloudy skies in Fort Yukon. Temperatures close to 30 degrees at Fort Yukon tomorrow. Here in the interior, fantastic. 40 degrees for the high in the Fairbanks area, 44 at Healy, and sunshine all over the region, and that will be continuing into Thursday the way it looks right now. Over southeast Alaska, widespread rain from Juneau southward to Ketchikan, so that's the state's worst weather. Over the southwest part of the state, scattered snow showers for Cold Bay. More rain is likely for Kodiak, but rain and snow shower activity expected at Bethel. And if you're heading down to the Anchorage Bowl, well, it looks like for the most part, pretty nice weather. Just mainly partly cloudy skies in Anchorage and also at Valdez. Some scattered showers for Homer and also around the Anchorage Bowl area. Here's your forecast for tonight for the Fairbanks area. Scattered high clouds and very mild, 11 degrees for the overnight low. Tomorrow's forecast becoming mostly sunny by afternoon, 40 degrees once again, but look at the 5-day outlook. 43 on Friday, 45 on Saturday, 40-degree temperatures expected all the way across the board. Overnight lows also very mild, 20 degrees for the overnight low, and that will be happening on, looks like Saturday night. Can you believe that? Just nothing but melting snow everywhere you look. Hey, our picture tonight is really a beautiful one. This was sent in by Tom Baran, a golden sunrise. Very nice capturing of the different cloud structure there and coming across the trees. Again, as always, if you have a photograph to share, send it to photos@ktvf11.com.
Well, we'll take
45 degrees.
Yeah.
Wow,
Very
already.
interesting.
Yeah.
Spring sprung.
Yes, by all means, yeah.
All right, thank you, Mike. That will wrap up this edition of the Fbx Evening News. We're glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, at least 31 are killed and more than 200 injured this morning in a terror bomb attack in Brussels. Lester Holt's up next with all that.
And as always, you can join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a great night.
Good night.